How you doing, everybody? This is Heshima. I wanted to talk about something for a moment in regards to music. I'm sure it applies in other areas of life, but I can only talk about what I know. And that is the issue of imitation, assimilation, and innovation. I hear a lot of musicians who talk quite often about the fact that they're trying to create something new. They're trying to do something beyond what's already been done, regardless of genre. And I want to say this. We're all aware that music is a language. People use that phrase all the time, that music is a language. Well, if you understand the way that language evolves, when a baby is learning to speak, learns language or acquires language by first imitating sounds, simple words, simple phrases, and then eventually, as the baby learns more, they can expound in a more eloquent way, if you will. I've never known of a baby who went from not speaking at all to creating a new language. The baby listened to mommy and daddy, listened to those around them. As Maestro Suzuki would say, the inventor of the Suzuki method, in his talent education program, he would ask the question, why do Japanese children speak Japanese so well? And of course, the answer to that rhetorical question, which he would give, was that Japanese children speak Japanese so well because they're surrounded by people all day who speak Japanese and who read Japanese and who write in Japanese. So when one sets out musically to learn a language, there is a process first of imitation, meaning that you're spending time playing exercises, playing transcribed phrases, learning the language, studying harmony. And at first, you assimilate those ideas into your playing, right? So maybe you end up sounding like two or three of your favorite musicians because you've assimilated that influence. You've absorbed their playing. You've studied their playing. Maybe by transcribing. Orally, by rote, meaning you're practicing phrases over and over again off of records. And then eventually, as you acquire a very high level of language, you begin the process of now expanding upon what you know to begin the process of creating your own sound or your own voice. Now, I don't necessarily claim to be there because I believe that each of us moves at our own pace. But what I will say is that I hear people quite often say things like, well, you're trying to keep me in a box. You're trying to keep me locked into a tradition. No. But as one acquires or one works, one has to have a foundation first before they can expand upon it. I heard someone say, well, I don't want to play like John Coltrane. Well, I hope you don't play like John Coltrane. But if you're going to bring up John Coltrane's name, then you have to understand that John Coltrane spent years and years and years acquiring the dialectical knowledge of the respective time periods of his chosen style of music, meaning that he learned the blues, and he learned music from the swing era, and he learned the music of bebop, and he studied outside of that as well, symphonic traditions from other musical systems like India, West Africa. He was constantly studying in search of finding the elements that he wanted to use to create his sound. He loved, for instance, Johnny Hodges. So for a long time, he sounded like Johnny Hodges. He tried to play like Bird. He loved Bird. But eventually, along the way, begins to develop his own sound. Some people outside of the musical tradition talk about the fact that Bruce Lee invented a whole new system of martial arts without taking into account that Bruce Lee, for many years, went about the intensive study of many different styles of martial arts in order to understand the elements of each of the respective forms or styles that he was studying, and then beginning to choose what he would incorporate into his own style, known as Jeet Kune Do. The same can be said of painters, of writers, of dancers, right? Everybody goes through a period of assimilation if they're willing to do the work and willing to study. And then eventually, one begins to choose what elements they're going to keep, what elements don't seem to be useful to them, and then throw them out, but they study them first. Herbie Hancock, intensive period of growth and study from a very early age, and then of course learning on the bandstand with the icons he played with, people like Miles Davis, who he's most well known as having played with. Chick Corea, who certainly blazed a new trail, but Chick Corea spent many years studying intensely, both in practical playing situations as well as studying. There's always something to learn. There's always room for growth, but we can't claim to blaze a trail if we don't know where the original trail is. You don't embark on a new trail if you don't have a clue where you're starting from to begin with. And so I want to encourage young musicians in particular who are starting out. Do the work. Shun laziness and avoid being afraid of tackling things that are difficult for you. If you can't read, find someone to help you learn how to read. Learn the basics so that you can begin to practice that skill. If you don't know how to play through chord changes, then sit with someone who's willing to teach you how to understand harmony, regardless of the style of music that you're playing. Whether it's jazz, whether it's rock, whether it's R&B, do the work. But shun laziness. Confront the thing that's keeping you stuck in the fear and not allowing you to sit with those things that are difficult. Study the masters. Do the work. Humble yourself to find a teacher, a guide. I've been playing a long time, and I'm constantly asking people to sit with me, to show me things that I need to work on. Because this is a constant process of growth. If your chosen medium is music, then music is the tool to help you go inside to do the work. If it's painting, then that brush and that canvas is the tool, is the vehicle. If it's writing, then your pencil or your pen or your typewriter. Yes, people still use typewriters to write. I know some of y'all might not know what those are. But avoiding doing the work to understand and avoiding dealing with process is a direct act of disrespect to the music, to art. It's disrespectful and an affront to all those who worked tirelessly and sometimes with less resources. Meaning that the people that came before us didn't have YouTube and didn't have Spotify and Apple Music in order to just listen to music. People had to go to places, sit, listen. People had to actually pick up. Some of y'all might not know what this even is. You know what this thing is? This is a pencil. It's a great tool. This is a pencil sharpener. This is a great tool. I don't want to jump up and reach over and grab manuscript paper, but learning how to write, at least on a basic level. Because to be literate is not only to speak, but to read as well as to write. So I hope that you take this in the spirit in which it's given. I love music more than I love anything on the planet. And because I love it, I put the time into it. I do the work. And I hope that you will too. You have the potential to be great. So go on and be great. I'll talk to you soon.